Greetings, YouTube, as I log back into the game to start this video. I know several of you behind the scenes have asked me to do a video on this. And I told you I would. I wanted to take the time to not rush it and to kind of talk to some more people and just feel out the mood on this. Because there are a lot of things to say in this video that I've heard from people, including some help tickets that have been filed in protest of this. For a very long time, loyalty has been an afterthought. You might use it for things like boosts, right? You might use it for things like revives. But other than that, the only reason why we got excited about loyalty in the past year plus was because of largely a trophy champion that could be bought for a very high amount of loyalty in the form of Unstoppable Colossus, who I did spend, I guess you could say, 3.2 million loyalty between initially purchasing him and then purchasing him a second time to awaken him. Some of you have Unstoppable Colossus much higher than SIG 20 because of the loyalty store. This is not even a video that's going to heavily dive into one of the biggest scandals in the history of MCOC that they just don't want us to talk about. And that's a scandal that I think they honestly are terrified to try to undo because it's too complicated. And that is for the small amount of people who, in I believe it was an Alliance War loss, instead of getting like 9,000 loyalty, they got 9 million loyalty plus. That allowed quite a few summoners to immediately cash in their loyalty, because of course this is before the new buffed loyalty store this month, and get a SIG 200 Unstoppable Colossus. And who knows what else. Now, if you're one of those players, and let's say you bought 2 Unstoppable Colossuses, but you held on to, we'll say 7 million loyalty. Now, all of a sudden, you've got that 7 million loyalty, and if you are the top couple progressions, and of course, especially the top progression of Wallet Breaker, you're able to max out purchases now in the loyalty store that include a Tier 2 Alpha, half a Tier 5 Basic, 20% Tier 5 Class Callus Fragment Selector, a 5-star Awakening Gem, but then the big ones, right? The Tier 6 Basics, the Tier 3 Alpha, and the fully formed Tier 5 Class Callus Selector, with the biggest hype, honestly, being this thing. To get that for free, or multiple 6-star Awakening Gems for free, is still possible, technically, because the couple people I know that reported to me that they got this loyalty and were terrified that they were going to get a temporary or even permanent ban just for accepting it, which would have been ridiculous on Kabam's part, and I think in their defense they realized that. It's still there. They have not reported to me that Kabam suddenly took it away. And this is now having such a detrimental effect on the economy of the game, which is something that they constantly preach about. Because if you're one of those summoners that has millions of loyalty left over, and of course, I had over 1 million loyalty that I spent yesterday in a video, largely because of compensation. Compensation for loyalty suddenly is a huge deal because of the store. And so we should, as a community, when we deserve, and Kabam rarely gives compensation, which also, as a reminder at the time of recording this, we still haven't got our compensation for last week's wrong drop rates that the crystal was supposed to be here by, I don't know, the beginning of this week. But regardless, we should be asking for and hoping for loyalty compensation now, because if you get 1 million loyalty in compensation, that's like giving Paragon players a free 6-star Awakening Gem. How insane is that? That's like giving Paragon players a free half of a Tier 3 Alpha and Tier 6 Basic Catalyst. So we have two extremes right now. We have the first extreme I just touched on, which is people that, because of a bug, because of a glitch, got millions of free loyalty that Kabam just didn't do anything about. And then we have the opposite extreme. We have people who, because there was no heads up whatsoever about this loyalty store, decided to throw maybe all of their loyalty at Unstoppable Colossus as recent as like last week. Just imagine you're one of those players that reached out to me to beg for me to do a video on this because you desperately want your 1.6 million loyalty back. And do you know what Kabam says in a help ticket? I don't even know how this arbitrary rule exists. We can refund it if it's within 3 days. But, if it's longer than 3 days, we can't help you. How amazing of a pro player move would this be if they said, all right, we're going to give players 2 things. We're going to give you a heads up that we are going to buff Unstoppable Colossus and make him a lot closer to the utility of actual God tier, beyond God tier maybe, actually probably, regular Colossus. So we're going to reward the people who spent loyalty on him. He's going to be better. We're just telling you up front. It might take 6 months, but he's going to be much better. Or we're going to do like a Mole Man type situation, only instead of giving you rank down tickets, you can rank down your Unstoppable Colossus maybe up to 2 times, right? Maybe if you've got him at SIG 80, you can get 3.2 million loyalty back just from rank down. But you can get up to 3.2 million loyalty back by trading him in. How much goodwill would that do for the community? Now, do they have an active reason to not want to do that? Of course, because these items are incredible. And the whole point is to influence people to want to do Alliance War more now, not to sell their Unstoppable Colossus. But because this came out of nowhere and literally did change the economy of the game, in some ways for the better, in some ways for the worse, depending on how you view it, this is the reality of the situation after the biggest scandal in MCOC history. Because as much of a scandal as patch 12.0 was, which it definitely was, when you give players millions of loyalty, promise to take it back and then don't, and then in the same year you introduce this store, it's just limited potential for shadiness. And at the same time, punishing players who just spent what they thought was the only real reason to hoard loyalty on a 5 or especially 6-star Unstoppable Colossus. So I know this video probably feels like it's a couple days late, but to those of you that messaged me privately, and you know who you are, I hope it makes up for it. I wanted to cover really 2 big issues on this. I wanted to cover the fact that the players never got their loyalty taken away, and I was not for any bans for these players. This was Kabam's fault. So I'm not saying this to ban these players. No. But I do think it's crazy that a small percentage of players got millions and millions and millions and millions of loyalty that now, if they were smart and hoarded some of it, not that they would ever know that this store existed, can cash in. And then on top of that, punishing players who did cash in right before the store hit. And now Kabam won't do any loyalty refunds. So those are the 2 issues. I also promised myself I'd keep this under 10 minutes. And look at that, we're under 9 minutes. We're about 8 minutes. That's a good place to stop. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. Happy Friday, everybody. I appreciate your support.